Hey everyone, Michael Mechanical here today. It's Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, voting day in Australia for us. Let's just face it, the music right now. Neither of these two cars I can afford to put on the road, because this one needs a new turbo or recon turbo, and this one here needs, well, head gasket again. The rear suspension, front suspension, everything is a bit shot on the Triton. So my best chance was going to be the Tata. So if I can do something about the turbo, all I need to do after that, once it's put together, is do the front brakes, maybe put some sealant through the cooling system to try and fix the head gasket temporarily, because head gasket's going to cost about $500 to replace, I think, on this. Maybe. And because you can't actually buy rocker cover gaskets for this, it's going to be a bit of a pain. Not even intake manifold gaskets. So this is kind of one of those cars which you hit dead ends once you find a problem. Now I found the problem is the turbocharger is not sealed anymore. It's actually not doing its job properly, and it needs two things. One, it needs a new core. That's $1,150 just for the core. Then there is the additional expense for the new parts, the bushes, the seals, whatever you want to call them, and that's an additional expense. This car's not meant to go for very long. This has had 74,000 kilometers on the clock. Yet this turbo, okay, it makes sense. It's the babiest turbo we've got around here, and it's literally got 74,000 kilometers on it. The engine itself acts like it has 74. The turbo itself does not. So the reliability of the motor with this turbo on it is down the toilet. Now, I should actually just bring it back out again. I've been looking at the two to look at the turbos and differences between the turbos compared to another one out of the car. I know what I need to do to make this survive. If I did put this on the road, I need to do the suspension. I got no question about it. The suspension needs to be done. But the good news is I can make the head gasket last a hell of a lot longer just by replacing this and this. This one, if I can get a variable regulator valve, pressure relief valve, and if I can get a variable regulator valve, I can then control when I want the boost to cut out. Now, it feels ideal to have around about 4 psi boost, but this thing goes up to 10, 11 psi, and that's normal, but when the head gasket keeps blowing, you need to drop the boost in order to save the head gasket, because the blow-by on 520 psi is not good. So if you have high compression, like 520 psi, you definitely need to drop the boost pressures, because this thing has too much power with 520 psi. The rear end is kaput in this. I can't point out that the leaf springs are no good, but the leaf springs I don't believe are that good. But my dad reckons they're still good. These are still got some in them, but the bushes here are no good. These bushes are completely worn out. I don't know if you can see it, but here's the center, and it's not centered to here. So those bushes are just no good. I can't prove much, but when I dropped the car, I saw it. My dad had a look, and he even noticed. And if we look at this bush here, we can see it's actually cracked. I don't know if you can actually see it, because these videos take a lot of effort to make now than before, a lot more than I used to. So if I need a car on the road, I hate that light. I think it might be the camera's a bit dirty, maybe. That sort of fixes it, not much. It might be just a dirty camera. But I need to do the rear suspension. That's to kill my safety issue that I had with this. That's the only one that affects me. It has another problem which I'm going to have to fix one day when I can afford it, but I'm not going to worry about this too much until I've got a job. So don't spend money until you have a job. And the problem I've got is this exhaust pipe is still too short, and I need a bigger exhaust, like as in I need the complete exhaust, not just this cut off here and then it stops and then it doesn't go nowhere other than under the hood, under the tray. So one day I'm going to get a new exhaust on this thing. I really want to finish this off, and there's bits here, there's bits not here. It's so hard to get a job these days though. It really is. If I do get a job with this though, I am going to remove these tray doors because they make so much noise and they rattle like crazy. And it's just annoying to listen to them going bang, 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 bang. They're not very solid. The paint job on the car, it makes it stand out now. In the sense it doesn't look good. It looks terrible. And all the paint getting chipped off of everything. I don't like it. I would rather drive this at the moment than this because of the paint, and this will get picked on by police. It's the paint, it's not just paint, it's also vinyl. The vinyl is deteriorated that bad that it's just cracking up. And you expect that when your car's out in the weather for years and years and years and never gets put away, the UV just kills everything. So that's expensive. I don't have the money to do all this work on it. But I've spent a lot on it. I've replaced components on this side of the suspension. I've replaced components on this side of the suspension. I haven't done everything though, and I've spent a lot of time under the hood here. I've replaced the master, the master cylinders, the master brake, master clutch. I've done the whole brake, all the brakes on the car. I have to realistically do the front calipers again because I did miss a step in there that is going to not make them last as long as they should. Well, they'll last, it's just they won't hold fluid. Like there you can see it's leaked a little bit and it's like dropped. I can make it stay up a lot longer if I replace, take the seal out and then clean it with a wire wheel, put it back in, put the assembly back together and it'll be good. So that's what I've got to do with that. With this, however, I think we have met our match in the sense that it's $1,150 plus to be spent on this just to get that going. To be honest though, it's the cheaper option of the two is this one. However, getting parts for this one makes it insanely hard to keep this car going. It's one of those scenarios where even though this is going to cost a little bit less than that Triton, something Let's Go here, I can't say it's reliable enough that I can get it going tomorrow or in a couple of weeks. I will literally have to wait months to get parts. I have to try to hunt down parts for months. This will be a good now and again driver, but not an everyday sort of driver. But I'll need an everyday driver pretty soon. The Triton is the best choice for everyday driving. Now, I know we're talking about these two cars. Let's not spend money on these two cars. These two cars are bombs. They require a lot of money to be spent on them in order to get them up to spec. The black Triton I'm definitely going to keep. Tata I have no idea about still yet. But the head gasket's gone. This is the best option of all the cars because this thing is nearly done. It's nearly there. There is nothing wrong with the suspension on this. Everything is solid throughout the suspension. I can't even show you suspension components on this. But if I can see anything... Here, the eye is aligned. So this is the center. That's where you want it. It's all good. And then if we look at the front, these control arm bushes, there is nothing wrong with those bushes. There's nothing up a control arm. The ball joints are all good on this. All the tie rods are still good on this, even though they look a little bit crusty and yucky and stuff. We only have to worry about, at this point in time, the master brake cylinder. That might be gonna let go. We don't have to worry about the front, but we might look into the things. Brake calipers. I don't know if I should rebuild the ball bearings in the front. I've forgotten wheel bearings. That's the one I was looking for. I don't know if I should rebuild them. The suspension in this is good. Everything is good in this except for the fact that it was hard to get the parts, but I managed to get them. This thing pretty much has the best condition parts I could expect of any of the vehicles. It doesn't need as much money spent. It just needs maybe a paint job in some sections because it's rusty in some sections. We started on the roof. We never finished the roof, but we started it again, even though I failed the first time I tried. The engine bay has some rusty spots in it, like around the battery, underneath the tray. It rusts on top of the tray, it goes through the paint and rusts that out. My dad once said someone literally used probably a jet washer, pressure washer to destroy all that heat shield for the hood. That actually protects the hood from warping, so that's what I've learnt from my car, because it doesn't have one of those. This is almost done, guys. I really should focus on finishing this car off. Don't worry about the paint, because I'm going to need something soon. But it's one of those scenarios where this isn't my car, so it's not my choice whether I have to paint it or not. Dad's going to be in control of, oh, we paint it or we don't paint it. And not getting definitive answers from him makes it very hard. I know how to put most of this stuff together. Most of the stuff is still there. It's very hard to make a decision without him. When everything's pretty much together, the next plan with this car was to pull everything in the interior out, as in the back seats, the middle seats, just get it all out and give it a good clean out, because it's got lots of dirt in the car. This is the best choice of those three cars, and this is Mum's car. She just got it back from service. She has a intermediate shaft, I think it was called, replaced for around $700, and that was because it was clunking, making bad noises. And when you sell a car, it's important to get rid of those noises or anything that someone's going to feel when they're driving it, because even if it's not really that bad, someone's going to notice it, and someone's going to be like, nah, I want the price dropped, and you'll lose a lot of value on the thing. Or you won't even sell it, because someone won't be interested because they don't know what it is, or they think it's a major issue. And sometimes people know what the issue is, they just want to knock the price down, even though it's been well looked after, money's been spent on it. So that just brought the value up a bit. At the same time, Mum lost some value on it. So, guys, it's going to be really hard to make a call on what I can do with the Tata. I already know I can get the turbo fixed. The problem is, it needs a new head gasket. It still needs a whole bunch of other things. And this has not got new pipes on it. This has all the original factory plumbing on it. And it all wears out, it all breaks, has lots of issues with that stuff. This here, the Triton MJ, has a brand new radiator in it. It has brand new hoses all throughout the vehicle, from the back to the front. By that I mean the fuel lines as well. It hasn't got new ones of this, but you should really replace them at some point, I guess. Yeah, I can't say what else there is to realistically do on this, except for getting all the expensive stuff done and out of the way. Realistically, I just need to get a job so that I can save up the money. This needs, at minimum, $4,000 spent on it to get everything solved, and $6,000 to have it finished, essentially. That's before paint. That's just mechanical stuff done. And after mechanical, then you worry about cosmetics. This doesn't need much cosmetic work. Well, a little bit. It's a bit rough around the edges, but what can I say? That you expect roughness around the edges of any car, right? Even Mum's car has scratches and bumps and dings and dents in it. It's really, really hard to make the right decision, because I can't make a decision on the Tata since I don't need a reliability issue like I have with the Triton. The reason I have a reliability issue with the Triton, high compression and low compression cylinders, the only way I can make that head gasket last one last time for ages to come is by dropping the boost, because the boost is what's going to kill it in the high compression cylinders. If I know what the stock standard is for 440 psi, that's the cylinder compressions, it's a 60 psi difference. Is it 60? No, it's 80 psi. So if it's meant to be 440 and it's 520, that's 20 plus 60, that's 80 psi difference. So what I would think of is dropping it down to maybe 4 psi. I'd drop it from 10 psi to 4, maybe even 3, just to be safe. I'd still get some boost, but not as much as I'd ever had before, because that pressure is just killing the car. It's not going to make it last very long. And I hate having to replace the head gasket. I could always try another trick, and that's retorque the head gasket one more time. I don't think it's going to work this time, though. It's too far gone, the head gasket. The sealing surfaces are full of soot. I don't know. I could try. No guarantees on how that's going to go. But I do know one thing, that when I was looking into the turbo-y stuff, they say this thing actuates the valve, and if this thing is worn out or busted, you need one of these to activate at low pressures. So if it doesn't activate, you'll get full pressure. If it activates, you'll get the lower pressure, because when that thing actuates is based on how much pressure is in the compression side. If there's high compression in the compression side, if it's, say for example 10 psi, that thing won't activate until 10 psi completely. If it activates at 3 or 4, it'll activate early rather than activating later. So the sooner that activates, the better. And if it's a 3 psi one that's broken, it won't actuate at all. So that's my safety, and my safety doesn't work as intended. In fact, there could be more than 10 psi and I wouldn't even know, because it bleeds it off through the bottom. It doesn't hold the pressure in there. But it also fills up with oil, and the reason it fills up with oil is because the turbo needs some new bushes and stuff in it. That's normal. They always wear out. 15,000 kilometers, I heard, is how long it will last before you need new bushes and stuff in it. Anyway, guys, it's best I leave this video at that. You guys understand the situation. It's not cheap to fix any of these cars and do it properly, but I want to get rid of this safety issue, so I can think about it like this. Get the rear sorted, fix the rear end of this car up. Then when you got the opportunity, go to the front, fix the front up with whatever you can get for the front. Fix it all up and just drive it from there once you fix the head gasket again. And if I can fix it without changing any parts, then that's a good thing. As for the Tata, well, you already get the idea. I don't think I'm going to fix the Tata because it still needs about $500 for head gasket. It needs $1,500 on the turbo, I reckon, roughly. It's $2,000. $2,000 just looking right here. You're looking at $2,000 worth of work needing to be done. If I get another turbo, I can prolong the life of this thing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you later.